Welcome to Speaking Cinema, serious movie jibber jabber, a movie podcast coming to you from an icy, isolated outpost in Hollywood, planet Earth.
It is cold out here, folks.
We are Speaking Cinema. What's it about? Every week we have a discussion on a movie. We talk about it before seeing it, then we see it, and we talk about it again, having had seen it. And this, being season 6, we're looking at the movies of the summer of 1982. A crazy, nay, the craziest summer in film ever? We're going to answer that question. It's already been answered. The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
A lot of seminal movies came out this summer.
So many.
This
We're not
episode will be no exception.
We cannot even get to all of them.
We can't.
There were so many.
We could do a whole podcast on it,
Sorry.
which we debated doing.
We did. Sorry, RoboCop. Sorry, Blade Runner. We can't get there.
Spoilers. Listen to us Jibber Jabber every Monday. Stitcher, iTunes, SoundCloud. Follow us on social media. You know where to find those. Set your dial to us. Accept our audio directly into your earports. I'm your host, Isolated Loner, Helicopter Pilot, and Rage Quitter, Mr. Jibber Jabber, hanging out in my shack. Here with me today is my rock and roll loving, roller skating chef Kevin, who may or may not be Kevin. Kevin!
Blasting my Stevie Wonder on my boombox in my roller skates.
Really mad that people are throwing their dirty laundry in your trash.
Yep. Don't tell me to turn my boombox down. Just don't do it.
This time on the Jibber Jabber, man is the warmest place to hide. 1982's The Thing.
Yes!
John Carpenter's The
The
Thing.
Thing. Oh boy. We're excited.
Directed by John Carpenter. Written by Bill Lancaster, screenplay. John W. Campbell, story. Starring Kurt Russell, Keith David, and Wilford Brimley. And some other guys. Produced by the Truman Foster Company, distribution Universal Pictures. I'd like to think that if the listener, if unfamiliar with the movie, or listen to the first half and get an idea of the movie, decide if they want to, watch it or not, go watch it, come back, listen to the second half. Alternatively, I think most people who listen to this probably just, if they've seen it or not, just listen to it anyways, right? But it's our format and it's how we do it. We're stubborn. However, if you are listening to the sound of my voice and you have not seen this movie, stop this podcast and listen. We're cool. Don't come back if you don't want to, or if you forget. Just go watch that movie.
Watch The Thing.
If you're at work, if you're in your car, when you get to a red light, if you're at work, whatever, go to your reminders in your phone. Make a reminder from around the time you generally get home from work, right? 5 or 6 or 7, depending on what shift you got. Go home, microwave a Pop-Tart, sit down on your couch, rent this movie and watch it.
Microwave a Pop-Tart?
3 seconds.
Not toast a Pop-Tart?
3 seconds. You gotta watch this movie, Kev. Kev, there's no time to lose.
How long does it take to cook a Pop-Tart, though?
3 seconds.
If you want it dark, I guess.
In a microwave?
In a
No.
microwave.
3 seconds is
All right.
is pure molten lava in the inside.
Okay.
But not.
Gotcha.
I did know a guy who put it in for 30 seconds, and that thing
Oh boy.
ruined the microwave, Kev.
Is that why we have global warming now?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're not familiar, an American scientific expedition to the frozen wastes of the Antarctic is interrupted by a group of seemingly mad Norwegians pursued and shooting a dog. The helicopter pursuing the dog explodes, eventually leaving no explanation for the chase. During the night, the dog mutates and attacks the other dogs in the kennel. The team soon realizes that an alien life form with the ability to take over other bodies is on the loose, and they don't know who may already have been taken over. Thank you to user Goth on IMDb. Thanks, Goth.
Just Goth, huh? Not a Goth 13? Or...
Nope.
Hey, way to go, Goth. You snagged it first.
Bit of background, this film is based on John W. Campbell Jr.'s novella, Who Goes There?, which was then adapted by Howard Hawks in the 1951 The Thing from Another World. Kev, have you read that or seen that other movie?
Have not, no.
I
want to seek it out, though.
I have read the novella. The novella is very much so like the movie, and it's great.
Good to know. Have you seen the Howard Hawks movie?
Fuck no.
All right.
I have not.
Well,
Apparently it's supposed to be good, but I've not seen it.
All right.
I take no pride.
I thought you had something against
No.
Howard Hawks.
The way I said that made it seem like I was proud that I hadn't seen it. I just want to strongly tell you, Kev, definitively that I've never seen that movie.
All right.
They got no pluses or minuses for it.
Gotcha.
This film is a remake. Hear that, forums, Twitter? It's just a remake of a movie, and the original one you just don't give a fuck about. So that's why everyone loves this movie and doesn't lump it into the fucking plague of remakes that everyone insinuates that we're always being assaulted by.
It is absolutely its own thing.
Mm-hmm. But it's also a remake.
Yes.
On a technical level. Carpenter considers The Thing to be the first part in his Apocalypse trilogy, the other two being Prince of Darkness and In the Mouth of Madness, both titles that I think we will eventually cover on this podcast.
Most likely.
When we do our John Carpenter Appreciation Month, which I hope to do.
Oh.
When I say soon, I mean like probably in like a year. You know, I had that episode of The Wrestler written, and there is no plan to record or read that anytime soon.
We might get to The Wrestler.
Indeed. Those films are not directly related, but they each have an apocalyptic scenario, and The Thing is no different. Kev, you seen those movies?
Yes, I have.
Interesting. I have not.
Just check him out. Sam Neill.
The score is a classic, written by
Ennio Morricone.
one of our perennial favorites.
Yes.
Nominated for a Razzie. Worst score.
And that's kind of why the Razzies are bullshit. You know, they really reflect the thought of the time. I mean, the Oscars.
It's about the problem with the Razzies is the problem with the Oscars. It's all about consensus, right?
Yep.
It's not about what we're about, because what we're about is how does something that may be important to everyone else, how does that feel for you, right? Because you are the center of the movie universe,
Yep.
your own personal body. But the Razzies is all about something failed financially, ergo it must be shit.
Be bad. They gave Stanley Kubrick a worst director for The Shining.
Yep.
Once.
And worse, yeah.
So
yeah.
fuck the Razzies.
Mm-hmm. The Thing was John Carpenter's first studio film, and you may like to know, it derailed John Carpenter's career for a while. It opened number 8 at the box office, same day as Blade Runner, which opened number 2. Both of them destroyed by E.T., who had opened 2 weeks before and was conquering the whole world. E.T., future episode, look for that. E.T. and The Thing, both movies about aliens coming to Earth, could not be more opposite takes on this concept, right?
Absolutely.
E.T.,
Suburbs,
Thing, Antarctica,
middle of nowhere. E.T.
E.T.
Mostly kids cast. Thing,
Sausage Fest.
grizzled, just hard dudes. You know?
E.T. supposed to be cute and lovable. The Thing, a monster that's so monstrous to describe it would be monstrous.
Yes.
The Thing has gone on to be considered a classic horror film and a classic film overall. Take that, time.
Just a good film in general. You know? Not just, you don't even lump it in with horror. I mean, obviously, it's like when you get the top horror movies, Thing should always be near the top.
Yeah.
You know, them and The Shining. But then it's like, The Thing is just a good film, too. Like, you don't need to have a category on it.
It's amazing because sometimes the lasting value of something can't be measured by dollars on a Pacific weekend. Or how it fits into a genre. Imagine that.
What a concept.
Comic books, video game sequels, and a prequel film have been created. The prequel received a lot of derision for being quote-unquote unnecessary. Admittedly, the cat's been let out of the bag. We know how the alien works, it shapes its mobility, and we know what happened in Origin Camp. One would argue, what can this movie add to the mythos?
It tried to add Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Which,
that was about it.
I appreciate that.
I do.
I do have that movie on my shelf. We'll probably get to that in about a year.
Someday.
On the anniversary of this episode, we'll do the prequel. If we've done anything from the Thing 1982 version, though, is that I will reserve judgment because I think negativity is very reactionary, and you gotta judge things on their own merit. That being said, in the research for the episode, I saw some footage on The Thing and the 2012 version. It looked a little bit lame. It looked a little bit like horror cliche kind of things. But there's a piece on io9.com that defends The Thing as, if it wasn't called The Thing, if it was called Aliens Invade from Mars, right, it would be a acceptable horror movie. The fact is, when you put it next to the greatest horror movie of all time, it suffers because how can you follow it? It's like Psycho 2 and Jaws 2 and Jaws 3 and 4 and Psychos 3 through 10 and the Amityville Horror 2 through 15.
Yeah.
Hard to stand up to movies that people love.
Exactly. All the Halloween sequels too. It's there was also an interesting video that came out for that Thing prequel where they showed, like, we built a ton of practical effects for this thing, and the studio fucked us over and said, no, you have to do it CGI because that's what the kids like, you know.
Yeah, so they shot it all, and then they rotoscoped over it with CG effects.
And some of their practical effects were pretty fucking cool.
Right.
I will say.
Yep.
But We'll never know what they actually look like on film.
Whoops. As of this recording, you can find this movie on Netflix and other places where you look. iTunes, Amazon, Vudu.
Widely available.
Widely available. Check for it on HBO Go. Go buy it. That's my recommendation.
You can blind buy this one.
Kev, we have heard of this movie. We do know of it. What is your history with this movie? Also, suffice it to say, I don't want to step on your toes. This is probably two of our most favorite movies, right?
Absolutely. It's definitely in my top 10 of all time.
It might be
somewhere.
This might be my favorite movie. I'm gonna have to watch it again and see. It's either this one or Pocahontas. Go ahead.
Pocahontas. Hey, you paint with all the colors of the wind, you know. First time I ever saw this, I'd heard of it kind of through my teenage years. Never got around to seeing it. Saw like a clip, probably on like an early version of YouTube or on some movie clip show, and saw, I can't remember if it was the spider head or like the dog head blossoming into the skull, but I was like, those are fucking cool effects. I need to find this movie. I went on Netflix, like when I had first gotten Netflix in college. Netflix predicted rating for me was 2.5 stars. And I was like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm going to watch it.
Wrong.
And by God was it wrong. So I randomly had a bunch of my friends over, and we watched The Thing on DVD, and we all absolutely fell in love with it. And that was my first experience with The Thing. So yeah, Netflix's recommendations can be correct. That one was dead wrong. 2.5 stars, that's fine.
So you were like 20 when you saw this movie?
Yeah, I was probably, I would say 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, the focal length of my childhood could be measured by Friday night going to Blockbuster. Which Blockbuster, whatever. So I was hanging out with my friends, some people, that we still hang out to this day. And we would rent movies. I want to say, previously we had done a double feature of Dracula and the Charlie Chaplin movie with Robert Downey Jr.
Okay.
And Dracula we all loved, and the Charlie Chaplin thing we thought was boring. So it's like, let's do The Thing.
Was that the Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola one? Okay.
Yes. And this is like, I'm like 12 or 13. This is like 7th or 8th grade.
Gotcha.
And so we rent The Thing. I don't know how we knew about it. I think we had an institutional knowledge that John Carpenter was a guy, and The Thing was a movie that he had made. But I don't think at this point any of us had seen any movies that he had made. I don't know. I think this is my first John Carpenter movie, I believe.
Not even Big Trouble in Little China hadn't snuck its way.
No, I had seen that because I hated it because someone lied to me and told me it was a Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh.
And it was not. So I was like, this is stupid. So we got to revisit that too because my only memories of that movie is being hugely disappointed that no one threw a fireball.
We need to revisit that movie.
Indeed. So we 12 or 13 years old watching it this is my friend Nick whose dad had a 5.1 surround sound system. We're watching it on VHS, so I'm not even sure if we got the this, and I'm one prone to be very colorful when I tell stories. I'm being literal here, not literal, but literally, figuratively literal. This movie, when I saw it, blew my fucking mind. Not literally, figuratively. It was so great. It was so scary. I was terrified from the beginning to the end. There's a scene where when Windows gets killed.
Yeah.
And I remember when the Thing's head splits apart and grabs him. I was just like, like my heart vessels just no blood going through my body. And then I remember the shot where it's like bucking him up and down. It's clearly a dummy. And I remember feeling relief.
Yep.
Like, thank God this shot looks so fake. Yeah, this looks so fakey that I'm just like, whew. It's like a breather that I needed. But it scared the fuck out of me.
Yeah, one of the biggest jump scares I've ever had is the fake hand. And he puts the hot copper in it and the Thing jumps out of it. That scared the piss out of me the first time I watched it.
Yes.
And jump scares usually don't get me that hard. But that one came out of nowhere.
That's one of the best jump scares of all time.
No question.
When the movie ended... Oh, and also, going back to what you're saying, we knew nothing of this movie other than the fact that it existed and it was probably good.
Yep.
Or people think it was good. So...
And that cover art is cool.
Yeah. So then, in the end, why don't we wait here for a while and see what happens? Bum, bum. bum bum, directed by John Carpenter. My mind was swimming. I was like disconnected from reality. You know what I mean? I was just like, what the fuck was that? You know what I mean? And it just blew me completely away. Just completely blew me away. And, you know, since then, it's one of these movies like Aliens, like, you know, Reservoir Dogs, where it's like, it's so good in its little genre that you're always chasing it. It's kind of like a version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I think that I've not seen the 70s version. I don't know if ever. The 50s version does this same kind of thing, but doesn't do it as well.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's such a great mystery in this movie. It's just, I just remember just being like, whoa.
It's the kind of movie you watch it and then you go outside and like everything, the colors are different. And
Yeah.
like your whole perception of how the world works has changed.
Right.
And that is a rare experience.
Because it is a movie like any other movie, but like it's so tonally it's so nihilistic in a ways that most movies don't even try to be. Don't even want to be.
I'm going to argue about that nihilism, but we'll do
Oh,
that. We're going to do that in the second half, though. Second half.
Karate fight. Do you like the movies of John Carpenter? Kev?
Absolutely. Yes.
I'm-
As I've said on this podcast before, had the pleasure of working with the man, and he's brilliant. One of the nicest people I've ever met.
Rolling through his filmography, I realized I have not seen a lot of his stuff. I have not seen a lot.
Well, you said you've never seen. Well, you went into big trouble in Little China
Under
false
the
pretenses.
most extreme of false pretenses. Yes. So we haven't done this in a while, but we're gonna do a little bit of what this movie, and it's just gonna be me, and if I've seen these movies or not. So, Kev, you wanna read off this list, and I'll just tell you?
Yes. Dark Star.
I have not seen it.
I haven't seen it either. Assault on Precinct 13.
I believe I started it and turned it off.
I have seen it. Someone's Watching Me, a TV movie.
Nope.
Not heard of. Halloween.
Have seen that.
Seminal. The Elvis movie starring Kurt Russell as Elvis.
I have not seen that.
I want to see it. I've heard actually some good things. The Fog.
Nope.
Recently on the El Rey Network. Escape from New York.
Where it belongs.
Where it belongs.
I did see Escape from New York.
Thing, obviously.
Yep.
Christine.
Have seen Christine.
So we saw that together. Actually.
Oh yeah, at the New Bev.
At the New Bev, midnight. Starman.
No.
Starring Jeff Bridges. Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes.
Prince of Darkness.
No.
With I can't remember if that's the one with Alice Cooper or not. I forget. Alice Cooper's in either Prince of Darkness or Mouth of Madness.
Yes. Prince of Darkness.
They Live.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Rowdy Roddy, baby. Rest in peace. Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
I've not seen that.
I believe that was it doesn't say TV movie, but I feel like that something weird happened with that one. Body Bags.
Nope.
TV anthology movie. Never heard of that. In the Mouth of Madness.
Nope.
Village of the Damned.
Negative.
Escape from L.A.
Negative.
I have seen. Vampires.
No.
One of the first movies I ever rented on DVD.
Oh, wow.
Was Vampires. Ghosts of Mars.
Mm-mm.
And The Ward.
I've not seen that either.
That's the one I worked on.
I think I've seen like roughly a third of his movies.
Uh-huh. I'd recommend all the ones I've seen, including The Ward. That PA work on The Ward, so good.
You know when people see The Ward, what do they say? That PA work.
It just jumps off the screen.
I do want to do spoilers for this podcast. You know, we're gonna do coming up next season, season 7. We're gonna do El Spielbergo, Steven Spielberg movies.
The beard.
The second director workshop I want to do is John Carpenter.
I'm all for it.
You know,
wait.
It's an interesting trajectory to that career.
Get to dig into the John Carpenter section of my Blu-ray shelf.
Indeed. Speaking of your Blu-ray shelf, are you a fan of J&B Scotch whiskey?
You know, I've never tried it. Never had. As someone who is, I wouldn't say a connoisseur, but I try lots of different whiskeys and bourbons and scotches. I've always seen it at every store I go to. I think I've always associated it with really divey bars and really old men.
Oh, really?
Like that's what they. It's either that or Cutty Shark, and like that's what they drink. And I've never tried it. It's a Scotch whiskey blend, so it's not quite a Scotch. It's not quite a whiskey. So
half of it is J, another half is B.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's you got it. So I've never tried it.
Interesting.
Someday.
So, I think we should ask this question. What are your expectations on this movie?
Like, anytime I watch a movie I've seen multiple times, and I know it's great, I want to try and find a new understanding about it. Just find another little nugget that makes it better or changes my perspective of it. And that's what I'm going to do coming in to watch The Thing.
I completely agree with what you just said. I feel the same way. I also want it to be exuding greatness, not necessarily in the same way that when I discovered it. I'm not 12 years old anymore. It's not going to be the same thing. Times have changed, right? But I want it to still feel great, if not in a different way.
Kind of like what we talked about in our Tron episode, where it's, when you're young, that might have been your favorite movie, but I just don't know how you can justify it when you're old.
Right.
So,
and now that we're more, we know more about stuff. I want to like now we live in a world with really great CG effects. So I want the practical effects to hold up. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Especially with Jungle Book blowing the doors off CG effects. Just came out. Amazing.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but, are we ever going to completely get rid of practical effects, or can they always look as good as they do in The Thing?
Yeah.
Let's find out.
All right. Well, fuck it. Let's go watch this movie. Here we go.
Here we go.
And we're back.
We're back.
Kev, to start. When, where, how do you see this movie?
Watched it last week. My Blu-ray copy. My house. I have seen this movie in theaters twice. I will
Yes.
say. We did at the New Beverly, we did a double feature. It was Wrath of Khan and The Thing, which is an oddly compelling double feature, believe it or not.
And I believe also the summer of '82.
It was a Summer of '82 special, so there we go.
Interesting.
And then I used one of my free tickets at the ArcLight. The ArcLight Culver City did their ArcLight Presents, and The Thing was there, so I used a free ticket to go see that.
When was this?
A few months ago.
Okay. The last time I had seen it was with you at the New Bev. Also, it's playing at the Landmark on April 22nd at midnight.
Oh, really?
Interestingly enough.
I'm all for it.
I watched it on Blu-ray on April 9th after my doctor's appointment where they took blood. So, that was fitting.
And did he leer at you with a flamethrower and go, "You're next"?
No, but it was a lady, and she was very, non-communicative, and I'm not, the best person about getting my blood taken. I don't really like...
Yeah.
It's like there's that weird anxiety you get, and then, it's like, I don't want to look at it or whatever, but, yeah, she was just she just wouldn't say anything. It was like we were communicating silently, and I didn't really like it. And, yeah.
Women in the workplace. Jeez.
Okay. Bending this back to reality. Kev, initial thoughts?
This movie's still great. Still holds up. I do think my goal was to reach kind of a new understanding about it, and I think I got one, but I want to get into talking about it first before I delve into that.
This movie is great. It's weird that 3 of my favorite movies are now Conan, Mad Max 2, and The Thing that all came out within a couple months of each other.
Yep.
In a decade that I'm not very fond of. I don't really consider the 80s to be pinnacle culturally at all. Fashion, music, underground music I like the Misfits was cool, Metallica,
Plenty of good stuff came out, but it wasn't popular.
Yeah. So the fact that these movies are so great is great. There's something that I think, and we can come back to this when we get further down.
And I do want to recommend, do watch it with the commentary at some point. That commentary is very good. It's John Carpenter and Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
And it's quite
At some point in my life, I did watch it with that commentary.
Yeah, it's great.
There's a casual impending doom to this movie that I think is something that no one else has ever come close to touching and is amazing.
Yes.
And let's get into it really quick. It's excellent that these dudes don't discover the alien. Someone else discovered the alien, right? Someone else said cliche things like, this is a crazy scientific quandary. We need to preserve our findings for whatever. These dudes no one's excited that they found alien life. They, from the get, first they realize they're fucked. And then in the process of discovering why they're fucked, the explanation is because this is an alien. So it's a paranoid mystery with no baggage. There's no stupid scientist character that's like, we gotta take this back to the lab. We owe the company something.
Yep.
And I think Aliens does that better than anyone's ever done that before. And a million movies have ripped that off.
It's a very blue collar attitude they have towards
Exactly.
it. And that's Alien does it. This movie does it, where it's weird and pissed off. Like that's their whole take on this Alien.
Right.
So.
And the introduction of it is such that fits that motivation, right? And we also never find out what they're doing there.
Yeah,
they're just there. There's no.
Yep.
There's some geologists with them, and there's some helicopter. But most people seem to be helicopter pilots or cooks, or there's the dog guy. There's a couple of signs, but it's not the focus of the movie, which I think is purely to the movie's benefit.
Yes, you don't want to get too bogged down in exactly what these guys are doing, because then it muddles what the story is really about. They're just guys on an expedition in Antarctica. It sounds like it's wrapping up pretty soon, so their work might be done. So they're watching old game shows, on TV,
and getting drunk alone in their shacks.
If they're McCready, and it's it's like their work just might be over, and they're just waiting for their plane home, But then this thing goes down and fucks up their whole weekend.
So, and going back to the blue collar thing that you said. Kurt Russell is an action superstar, but no one in the movie is an action superstar, right? So,
you haven't seen any of Wilford Brimley's action movies?
Yeah. But the Wilford Brimley in this movie, no, and we get the direct sense that everyone is completely in over their heads.
Yep.
Like, they are trying to figure this out as it goes, and there's enough paranoia to let you know that everyone's completely paranoid, but not enough paranoia to ruin scenes with excessive stupidness.
Yeah. No, nobody's a moron.
Yeah. They give you just enough to know, listen, McCready walks in on the guy with the glasses who's bald, Fuchs, and he's like, Fuchs, they turn and look at each other like suspiciously, and then Fuchs starts talking to him like, hey, we need to start, eating out of cans only, and everyone prepares their own food because, you can't trust anyone. He's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And you get the sense that, like, they're friends, but there's that level in front of it that's like, but I don't know if you're the thing or not.
Yep.
And I think that is masterfully handled.
Well, and they established McCready really early. He's kind of a loner.
Yes.
Like, he knows these guys, he talks to them, and they respect him, but he talks a lot of, we open with him in his shack, drinking his J&B, playing chess. And then he just talks about a lot. As shit is going down, he's like, I just want to go back to my shack and get drunk. He's definitely a loner.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way that's believable. It's not just like, oh, there's grumpy old McCready, we got to just get him to fly the helicopter now. It's in a very believable way of like, this is just a guy, his whole life he's done that. I think it's pretty obvious he's a Vietnam vet. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty obvious he's an alcoholic, and that's just a very believable way to show that.
Hey, Kev, you're not a doctor, right? But I will say he definitely has a drinking problem.
He drinks a lot of James.
I'm not a doctor, but that guy has a drinking problem.
So again, these characters don't feel staged at all. Mm-hmm. They're not fitting into a lot of stereotypes, especially what you see in a lot of 80s movies. They just feel very real.
Yeah.
They're just dudes working.
And there's a lot of, and I think you got a lot of different, you got young guys who are fit and, look all right. You got kind of some more crusty dudes. Then you got some old men who have a little bit of a belly and a little bit of this and that, and different levels of, who's the guy with the turtleneck? He has this very nice turtleneck on. And, and what's also very interesting is that for the majority of the movie, most of it, everyone is wearing exactly the same outfit.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought of that.
I'm gonna come back to this.
Let
it stew in your mind. Everyone has the same coats they always wear and the same underclothes they always wear. The guy with the turtleneck is always wearing that blue turtleneck. The doctor is always wearing suspenders with a button-up yellow shirt. The other doctor is always wearing whatever he's wearing. The security guy is always wearing his tan outfit, right? The what's his face is wearing. He has the cut off vest.
Yep. And then Keith David always has that blue sweatshirt
and a blue parka. So, and there's a continuity to that. We'll get to that in a minute when we talk about the creature. But really good sense of the characters. And I
Yes.
think that is to the movie's credit. Supposedly, this movie was delayed a year in production, and supposedly John Carpenter took that year to really just kind of like really polish it up, and I think it shows.
That's a good. I mean, that's a blessing in disguise. Sometimes it's really just take a hard look at it, get rid of all the shit you don't need, and really just make these guys solid and sell them in the first 10 minutes of us knowing them.
Mm-hmm.
We just know who they are.
Right.
You know, and this movie gets all that out of the way so fast and so efficiently in a way that Tron never did, in a way that so many movies never can.
A lot of plot in this movie that is handled really well. Let's get right into the creature. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar, or maybe if you watch a movie you didn't understand it, maybe you watched a movie a long time ago and listened to this podcast you don't remember, the creature is a shape-shifting monster that can infect you. So it puts its tentacles into you. It replaces all the cells in your body so you look exactly the same, but now you're one of it. So now there's two of it. One that looks like me and one that looks like you. All right. And no one, it doesn't ever talk as the creature. It never says, I'm the creature. It just, when it's discovered as a creature, it turns into a horrific monster with a bunch of eyeballs and heads and tentacles and
we never really...
a really cool noise that...
Yeah. It's probably how they did it. We never see the creature in a raw form either. It's always imitating something else.
Mm-hmm. Or seemingly a combination of a bunch of gross things.
Yeah, that it could have picked up from other planets, Mm-hmm. It's like it turns into weird flowers and has tentacles that move. It's just copying. It's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy.
But that flower thing was a bunch of dog tongues and a bunch of dog teeth. So it's also deconstructing things. Very interesting.
It's just, man, you never see. This is the creature. This is what it looks like. It's always inhabiting something else, and they show the wide range of what it can do. It can, infect a dog and blossom into this hellhound thing. It can turn a stomach into a mouth with teeth. That's powerful and can eat you. It can turn a head into a spider and walk away.
Right.
This creature has unfathomable capabilities, and that just makes it that much more terrifying. And it can look exactly like somebody you know.
Right. So all this is garnered through osmosis, right? There's one expositional scene where a guy does a simulation, and the simulation is that if you let this thing get out into the world, it would more than likely take over the whole planet.
In 4 months.
So, but other than that, we have limited information on the creature's actions, motivations, and abilities. And I think there's kind of two thoughts you can have. One, does the thing know it's a thing, right? And if it does, is it trying to survive and torment the crew in a very shadowy paranoia kind of a way? So evidence of this is they tamper with the blood bags and it pops all the blood bags, right? And in the defibrillator scene, it fakes a heart attack, and then when knowing that the doctor will try to revive this guy, uses that as an opportunity to kill him, and sacrificing itself for someone else who is probably infected, because that thing gets killed. They kill all the other ones, and then it's Windows, right? The guy with the no, not Windows. I think it's the guy with the vest. He's also infected.
Yes.
So it's is that a sacrifice play to get Windows, or not Windows, fucking the other guy, the stink off of him? You know what I mean? McCready's clothes being torn up. It's spreading paranoia. McCready is not infected, but it tore up its clothes. It tore up his clothes, hoping that someone, and left them in a place where someone could find them in order to
spread the seed of
paranoia,
discontent.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a different way to look at it, and so in that way, the creature seems cruel, and I think on some level it does know it's the thing. But then on a second level, it's trying to stay hidden, and perhaps the torture is a byproduct of simply not wanting to get caught, right? And you see that in that they find someone's long underwear, right? Mm-hmm. Torn up in the cook's kitchen, and it's in the trash. So that speaks to the idea that someone got attacked at night, was assimilated, and then they threw away the clothing, trying to hide the evidence.
Yeah.
And not put any light on anyone. So it's a really great mystery.
It's interesting because now, as you've been talking about this, I've been thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Does the thing ever offensively attack anybody, or is it always a defensive measure?
The only time you could really argue that it's okay, well, there's a mystery of who killed Fuchs, right? Because they find Fuchs's torched body, but they say either it got to him and torched him, or he torched himself not to get touched, and we just never know that, right? So that could be one. The only time you could argue, and it's kind of like a defensive offensive move, right? A very interception, is when it fakes a heart attack and cuts off the doctor's hands.
Yeah.
That's like the only real time where it's not found out in attacks.
And it's...
Oh, and then in the end, when it's in the...
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's cornered. It's like, you're going to blow up my house, basically.
Yeah.
And it's going to attack. But I feel like it's always silently trying to assimilate. But if it only attacks if it gets caught. Mm-hmm. And so I've just... As you've been talking, I've just thought about that, and I think that's kind of worth revisiting. Mm-hmm. I think is when does it choose to show itself?
Right.
I mean, it's not subtle when it does, but
it does attack the dogs in an effort to assimilate them.
True, but out of the eyes of
away from people, right? So you could argue that was the same way it got everyone that it got. Norris, who's the guy in the sweater.
Yeah,
it probably got him at night alone. Grabbed him.
Yep. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I think it does want to hide. I don't think it wants to be this exposed thing, and it just kind of like E.T. He's just building his ship and he wants to go home.
And I do think it knows it's the thing.
I think so too.
And I think with that, it knows it's the thing, and it's trying to play it cool, and it has all of your cells, not your memories, everything, your memories, your cells, everything, in order to do that. Correctly. That being said, there's a lot of mysteries in the movies, and they're really great, right? So, like the blood bags, and it's like you have Windows. He's talking to the bald guy, right? The corpse of the thing is still alive. He goes to Palmer to get the keys, gets the keys, comes back. All the dude's clothes are torn up, and he's being assimilated. You hear him drop the keys. You do not see it.
Yep.
He runs away, and then later, like, who tampered with the blood bag? And it's like Palmer is the only one who has the keys, but in the craziness, he's forgotten that he gave them to Windows. And then supposedly, if you see Windows, he looks sheepish because he doesn't want to admit that he dropped the keys in front of the thing.
Yeah, and it's there's who tears up the helicopter. You can assume it's Wilford Brimley, but we don't really know. Like,
right.
We never see.
You never answer that.
You see somebody run.
And he never admits to it.
And he never admits to it, and it's. And even, like, the first person who gets infected by the dog, there's the great scene of the dog. Some fine dog acting, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Comes up, pauses, walks, pauses, and then all we see is the shadow of the person in their room. Mm-hmm. And it's not even... I bet they didn't even use one of the actors who's in the movie.
Yeah.
You don't know who it is. And again, it puts you right in the shoes of the characters of... There's no easy answers, and there's no little Scooby-Doo clue trail that's going to tell you what to do or who this thing is. It's always just it's just tense in just a very paranoid way.
And I mean, with the thing itself, right? In the beginning, the opening scene of the movie is the UFO crashing, and it kind of looks like it's moving erratically and crashes, right? So it's like, did it crash land because something's wrong with the ship? Did it crash land because the thing was a passenger in disguise? Was the thing the cargo? Is the thing the reason why it crashes?
When did it crash, too?
Right. Well,
is this like prehistoric time?
Well, they allude to it's been the level of ice it's under is 100,000 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100,000 years ago.
That's crazy. It's been dormant that long.
And then one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when they go to the Norwegian camp, right? Which I think in a weaker movie would be played for fear, right?
Yeah,
It'd be
really way more of a haunted house vibe.
Yes.
So.
And in this, it's mystery. It's what the fuck happened here? You go in, there's holes in the side of doors, everything is burnt. You have a guy who committed suicide and he froze to death.
There's a bloody axe in the door.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
There's a dug up that you see where the creature came out of the ice. It's like, whoa.
And then they watch all the videos that the Norwegians had too. Mm-hmm. but they don't, everything's in Norwegian, so they can't read it. And they don't understand what they're saying, but they're picking up little clues like, okay, obviously these guys found it, dug it up, and they should not have, because it made everybody paranoid, and like, this is what could become of us if we're not careful.
Right.
So.
And then, it's just there's a huge puzzle in the movie on every level, but there's also following the action. I feel like that plot is giving you enough, not all the answers, because there's definitely a lot of things left open, and we're talking about them all right now, but the plot really does move at a great pace, where it balances paranoia, answers, and questions.
Yep.
It's not lost here. We got the triangle is being completed, where we're just bouncing around. So I want to talk about atheism in this movie.
All right. My favorite.
So, atheism is that there is no God and man is just a creature, has no soul. And I feel like this movie definitely is in the vibe of atheism.
I mean, we don't go anywhere when we die, and there's nobody protecting us.
And
we're all in this on our own.
There's no soul. Because the idea of a soul is that you have the meat of your body, and then there's this spiritual, magical soul that is ethereally attached to your body. That is you. You are your soul. In this movie, through the way the creature acts, where the creature can perfectly imitate anyone it absorbs, provided it has enough time to perfectly do it. There is no soul. There is nothing about you that is unique and special enough to be like, I just don't feel right about Kev. I think he's the thing. You'll never know unless you could find a way to scientifically test it. The thing will be a perfect you, a perfect me, a perfect anybody.
Until it gets called out or attacked, and then it will fight back.
And so you are just meat that it can imitate. Like a chair, you know what I mean? You can just figure out how you're made and then just do it. Also, no one prays. A lot of people die. No one prays. A lot of people feel lost and scared and afraid. No one prays. And Blair, one of the best lines when they go to his little shack. I want to come in now. There's nothing wrong with me, and if there was, I'm all good now. And there's a noose hanging right in the foreground. And
Carpenter said that was the production designer's idea to put the noose there. So.
And then Blair says, I don't know who to trust, Mac. And Mac says, well, you should put your faith in the Lord. Which no one does.
Nope.
And I think he's calling it out. I think he's saying, no, dude, there's nothing.
And I think I don't think he's saying that genuinely. I think he's saying that being very sarcastic.
Yeah.
So, in a way only McCready could do it.
I agree with you.
So, to kind of get to my point where I was like, can I find something new in this movie? Mm-hmm. I think it ties in a bit to what you're talking about. But I want to go a little further. So, I looked at historically where we were as a society, as people in 1982.
Mm-hmm. Duran, just coming out.
Duran's got, Hungry Like a Wolf. That might be later. Vietnam's still fresh in our mind. So we still have this, we're still recovering from this just horrific violence that was projected into our living rooms. You've got AIDS, which is
this mystery disease that no one
knows. Mystery disease that nobody knows how to combat. Nobody knows where it comes from. Nobody knows who it infects.
Right. Other than gay dudes and blacks.
And, that was the boogeyman at first. And then you also have the Cold War. We're still in the throes of the Cold War of this paranoia. And what the movie really explores is, and I think through McCready and a bit through Blair, Wilford Brimley's character. So McCready starts this movie, he's just absolutely a loner, drinking by himself, playing his chess computer, whatever. As we get more paranoid, and then Blair runs the computer program that says, if this gets out, we're all dead in 4 months. The entire human race is gone. And his first reaction is to just kill everybody, basically. Because that's when he's got his gun, he's destroying everything.
His first priority is preventing people from leaving.
Yeah.
And then his second priority is trying to shoot them.
Yeah, because they try and stop him.
But do you think that he's trying to defend himself, or do you think he's trying to murder them?
I think he's...
Or do those things blend in his
craziness? A little bit of both in that, if you try and stop me, I will kill you.
Yeah.
Because we cannot leave, and that's just the first reaction anybody's going to have to an apocalyptic scenario. Mm-hmm. It's like, we need to do everything we can to stop it. And no, as crazy as that is, but and again, that's a very human way to look at it. And as the movie goes on, people are getting picked off one by one. At the end, it's just McCready and Keith David. What's his character's name?
Childs.
It's just McCready and Childs, and that's it. Childs could be a thing. We don't know. He left his post. We saw him run away. We don't know. And McCready's got his bottle of J&B. Like, he found another bottle of it. And it's kind of a mirror image of his scene with the chess computer, where he offers it to Childs. But now instead of pouring it into his chess computer and giving up, rage quitting, he's having a camaraderie with somebody who could very well kill him.
Yes.
And I think that's a really interesting parallel to the idea of apocalypse and the idea of the world ending, the idea of paranoia. It's like, all we really have is each other. As human beings, we got people who are different color, different race, might have diseases, believe different things that we do. But when everything's burning around you, all we've got is one another. And that's kind of the level I got to watching the thing again. And I don't see that as a nihilistic viewpoint.
Okay.
It's like, that's all we got. And we might as well work together. Or enjoy a J&B before we freeze to death.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you.
That's
but
fine.
This is why this is the best movie ever. Because my first Q&A question is Child a thing? You say no.
I'm saying it's like
maybe, but he's given up, or McCready's accepted his fate.
The ending of Inception when everyone's like,
is
the top spinning or not? That doesn't matter. What matters is Leonardo DiCaprio's character is at peace with himself and he's achieved his goal. So it doesn't matter if it's a dream or reality. I think this is my interpretation. So a lot of people talk about this movie and they're always trying to figure out is Child a thing or not. And I think it doesn't matter at the end of this because they're the last two. Everyone's gone. Their helicopter's fucked. Nobody's probably coming to save them. That's all we've got.
But if Child is the thing, then he'll just freeze, and then when he's saved, he'll ruin the whole world.
But he's probably not going to get saved, though.
Well, but it doesn't matter, because if he's the thing, he could just freeze and then be unfrozen.
True. But that's an interesting question, too. What if the host body dies? And there's no other thing to infect? Then what can the thing do?
Well, it lived in the ice, though. They dug it up from...
It lived in the ice, but it was living in some kind of body, though.
Right.
It was living in an alien.
Sure.
But what if... I see what you're saying.
It would just freeze, but it could last that freezing because it's not a human, it's a thing.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so the question is Child's a thing? We're gonna go this way and we're gonna come back. Okay, so before I get into this, there's a guy on YouTube, Rob Iger, Ager. His channels are Rob Iger and Collective Learning, Collative Learning. I'm probably saying that wrong. We're gonna keep going. Which are about reading media, and they're so good. I love every video he does, and a lot of them I say was covered with his videos. All credit to Rob Iger, British guy, kind of a conservative dude. We're different that way, but when it comes to the thing, we are in parallel. So shout out Rob Iger. John Carpenter himself says that you can see Kurt breathing, but Child doesn't have any breath, right? And that means that Child is the thing. That's what he said on Reddit AMA.
But
here's the problem. The bald guy who gets turned to a thing when it's his fingers.
He's not quite assimilated yet.
And he turns and he screams and it's this alien monstrous noise. Which, by the way, as a kid, rattled my teeth, scared me so bad.
Yes.
You see his breath. So that's out.
I'll never buy that.
And as someone who's been in the cold, you know that as your body temperature lowers, you have less breath. Because the reason why you have breath is because your mouth is really hot and the air is really cold.
Yep.
And if your mouth was cold, then you wouldn't have breath because it just doesn't work that way.
Yep.
But here's the thing. Well, if you're...
Literally.
However, his parka is tan white, and it was originally blue. And the whole movie when he was outside, he's had goggles, and he has no goggles. Let's take it back a minute. He says he chased Blair into the storm. First thing, That's not his style. When McCready was locked out in the storm, he's like, let's let him freeze to death out there. And he's Childs, what if he's a guy? And he's like, then he's a guy. That's not his modus operandi, put himself into. And then he's like, and the other guy's like, let's open the door. And he's like, why would we do that? He's like, then we can blast it. And he's like, nope. Childs is not one to run at danger. Childs, is a more defensive player. To his credit. One.
He does take an axe to that door though, in one scene.
Well, that's when McCready already gets in and then he has to engage him.
Yeah.
Second thing, when he runs out, you see him running out, or what appears to be him. Seconds later, it all goes dark, right? Which means that Blair is already inside and has destroyed the generator. Which means that Blair has gotten to Childs, and I will defend that because there's a scene right before we leave to go out to get Blair, where we pan through Outpost 31. We see the main hallway, and down at the end is the kitchen and the living area and stuff. And then we pan over, and we go down, and we see that's where the basement generator room is. And then we keep panning to the right. Well, we've been going right this whole time, and we see that's where the door outside is. So if Blair came in through the door or came in through the other way, he could assimilate Childs and go straight to the generator room. So then Thing Childs runs outside, and Blair kills the generator. Why? Childs runs away, gets frozen, and when the rescue team comes, they'll find him, and he'll infect everyone else. And Childs destroys the generator in order to kill the power and kill everyone as they freeze to death. And when we see that they repeat that pan through the hallway after, so the first time they do it, what I just described, Childs is out there looking like, and he's like, "Fuck this," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're all walking to the shack. The second time we see that shot, all of the coats, Child's gone, the door's open, a bunch of snow has come in, and all of the coats are different. They're not in the same place. Because he was looking for a blue coat, couldn't find one.
Yep.
And then, as we said earlier, everyone wears the same clothes. And I think that is a very specific choice to make in the movie. Because the movie does not take place over one day. It's clearly at least 3 days of up to a couple of weeks.
And yeah, it could have easily been a practical choice of this is the easiest way to keep
Everyone
in line.
Right. But they also specifically say, finish my sentence here, it tears to your clothes when it kills you, when it gets you.
Yes, it does. Does it?
So, and then in the opening, McCready, what you said, McCready plays a chess game and loses in a checkmate, right? He's been checkmated. So the game is only over, it's over, he has to admit defeat. And instead of, there's no move he can do, but instead of doing anything, he just fries the game and wins that way, right?
Yep.
Because he is now alive and the chess game is dead.
Cheating, bitch.
The movie's a chess game. Moves and counter moves, the Thing versus them, right? The Thing does a sacrifice play. It sacrifices Norris Thing to preserve other guy Thing. They do moves and counter moves. They figure out ways to test it. Blood. Oh shit, the blood's gone. Okay, well, we figured out that all of the pieces, when Norris Thing tries to survive, we figured out that all the pieces are holes of it. So that if we put a hot needle in the blood, it'll react. Because all of it is part of it. Moves and counter moves. It ends with a no-win scenario, right?
It ends on checkmate.
He's been checkmated. They burned down the Thing. There's no way to tell who's who. In the opening, he fries him with J&B. In the end, he's drinking J&B and offers it to Childs. And what does Childs do?
Takes a drink.
Would Childs, human Childs, trust him enough to take that drink?
It's a good question.
I don't think he would.
I don't think he would.
Also, in the original ending of the script, it is stated that everything happens the same, and McCready laughs, and they're inside. They're in the ruins instead of just randomly outside. And he takes out a blowtorch and puts it on the table. So I think that's in the script. It's not in the movie. But I think the implication is Childs just revealed himself to be a Thing, and McCready has checkmated him, but there's nothing he can do this time. He has no blowtorch to torch it. He has no equivalent of the J&B thing to blow it away with.
True.
I think that's what it is. It's definitely not 100% clear.
It's true. I mean, that's the paranoia that gets in, and that's fantastic investigative work. No question about it.
Thank you.
But again, I don't think it matters in the end that he's a thing or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the ultimate message of this movie. And I don't think it's a nihilistic one. That's all we got.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he's a thing or not, he's the only living soul you've got to talk to right now, or spend any time with before you most likely die.
Right.
But yeah, fantastic investigative work.
Thank you. Rob Iger, credit to him.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
Do you have any nitpicks with this movie?
I really don't. It's just there's never a false moment in it. When what's his name, like you were talking about, when Windows gets eaten, it definitely looks like a dummy.
Yeah.
And but like you said, that's your only comfort. So, the shots are quick enough that it doesn't really hurt it too much. So that would be my only nitpick.
Mm-hmm. I think in the beginning, the ship crashing, I'm not sure how necessary that is.
I like that it immediately establishes a supernatural alien vibe.
It does. And I guess
in a way that's not belabored, it's just a quick, this is an alien ship, it crashed on Earth. Mm-hmm. John Carpenter's the thing.
And I guess, I mean, that's why it's a nitpick, because I think you might be right. And it's one of those things where if someone told you the plot of this movie, it's about an alien that blah, 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 blah. So it's like, it's not like you're burying the lead here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my only one. And I'm even half-sies on this at best.
Yep.
Any moments of awesome?
Got a lot. I like when the Colonel dude shoots the Norwegian. I like that the body twitches when it lands on the ground.
Yeah.
Because in most 80s, especially 80s movies, they just kind of fall in a heap. And it just has this little twitch about it as he dies. And that really sells you in that this is going to be a way more visceral experience than what we're used to, especially in 1982.
Mm-hmm.
You're next.
I mean, there's too many to really go into. The humor is good. Like, it's like, fuck, I'll give you the ride, Doc, no problem. No thanks, Windows. Like, thanks. Oh, okay, thanks for thinking about it.
And come on, the greatest kill line of all time. Yeah, fuck you too.
Yeah,
Dynamite.
Yeah.
Blow it up. This movie really captures the feeling of being in just ass cold weather.
Yes.
And it's a hard thing to do, and a hard thing to describe if you've never been in it. But as someone who's trudged across negative 10-degree college campuses to get to my classes, the way it gets the feeling, it gets that, like, absolute, just, you're so cold you can't think of anything else, and it gets the look of it really well. Like, even if the sun is shining and there's no clouds, it still gets that feeling of, like, this. It is so cold outside right now. It's so cold there aren't clouds. So, props to that.
Yeah.
Good work. And I can't believe we haven't even talked about the special effects in this movie yet. We've had all this time.
Right.
And Rob Bottin's special effects are so good. So phenomenal. I can see why he almost, like, died of exhaustion making this movie.
You think you get that?
I mean, he said many times he almost did, so. And Stan Winston, like, had to come in and build some things because he was so exhausted. But they still hold up to this day. They're extremely creative. They really sell it in the space. I think a really good scene is when the dog is transforming and they're flashing a light on it. Like, McCready's got his flashlight on it. And just having that flashlight in the scene sells you on the size, its space in the room, how real it is. Like, this is a thing you can touch. This is a thing that can kill you. Just simple little things like that to really sell all of the monsters. Yeah. It's just extremely well made.
And there's really good shots, especially with the flamethrower. There's some shots where, the flame comes in from off screen. It was a really good shot when the windows is starting to turn after they've done the blood test. And I mean, we didn't even talk about how great the blood test scene is. But when windows are starting to turn off the blood test and McCready just kind of crouches down and the camera is over his shoulder and he just lights up, the dummy is starting to, like, twitch.
Yeah.
And to the strength, it looks real because he's just starting to twitch. You don't have to get full range of human motion.
Yeah.
And he just burns that shit. Mm-hmm. And it just, they're literally shooting something with a flamethrower. And it just has this really great sense of you being in that moment.
Yep. yeah, Carpenter talks about there were two dudes controlling the legs behind that wall. It's like, that was kind of dangerous because that wall's just straight up on fire. So these guys had to have like fireproof suits and are like doing the legs and shit. So they went all out.
Yeah.
It's just no technique unused to bring this world to life.
And I feel like the movie never holds back. You never feel like they're like, well, this is too much. And also, it's a really gooey movie. And I would say that I don't...
Perfect way to describe it.
I don't really care for gross, gooey things, just generally. But I feel like this movie is not... The way... The monster of the thing is gooey and gross, but they're not shooting it in a way that's like, oh, look how gross this is. Look how gooey this is. You know what I mean? They don't really give a shit. Like,
there's... Those autopsy scenes are performed with, like, utmost professionalism.
And
Wilford Brimley, apparently he was a cowboy and has dissected more deer than anybody could ever know.
And then Carpenter's like, I guess he kept teasing them, like, you cool with this scene? He's like, I'm just getting my laundry.
Yep.
I'm just getting my laundry.
But yeah, those scenes are performed in a way not to, like, really gross you out. He's not stretching organs and blood's not gushing. It's like, this is what it would look like if you dissected it.
This thing is making a bunch of human organs. It was trying to become human. This thing, we opened it up and we moved all these guts around, and there's a dog creature being created here. So we tried to make another dog, right? It's playing into the movie's not about being gross. The movie's about the mystery.
Yep.
So the mystery is like, holy shit! Like, we would have had another dog and we wouldn't have known. So now we gotta go kill all the dogs, but we can't kill all the humans.
Yep. It's... Again, the more they learn about it, the scarier it gets. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get any easier at any point in this film.
So we're kind of talking about, we're kind of mixing this with our expectations, and the effects still hold up. People criticize the stop motion effects at the end? What do you think about that?
It works. It's fine. It's one shot.
It's dated, but it's not without its charm.
Exactly. It's from the 80s. Could it have looked a little more realistic? Sure, but it functions exactly what it needs to do, and they don't take it to a place that it can't go. Like, they don't do... Like, if the final monster was all stop motion, it would look terrible. Mm-hmm. They just use it for that one shot to, like, where it swipes away the detonator for the dynamite, basically. And that was the best way to do that shot, because the tentacles... A practical tentacle probably couldn't have moved with that much force, move that fast, do what they needed to do. But they didn't just stick to that one tool. They use it in everything. And, they've got shots where it's animatronic, they've got shots where it's a puppet, each shot is carefully figured out what they want to do with it. And so yeah, the stop motion thing, it's whatever. It doesn't take me out of the movie at all.
Right. I agree with you. I also think the movie is not scary watching it now. Now I just enjoy it. I feel like the movie is very charming, which is a very odd...
That is odd.
I think for someone who's watched this movie once or never, that's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
The first time I watched, I was terrified.
Yeah. Of course.
But again, you do get caught up in the characters, and like they do feel like real people, and they react in a very real way. And I think that's another huge strength of this movie, especially coming out in 1982. It's not quippy... It's not cheesy, and it tells a serious story. And I think it shows that you can have a sci-fi concept, and you don't always need to be winking all the time, and telling people, like, isn't this silly? Aren't we making a crazy movie? It's like, it plays it straight, very much to its benefit. Mm-hmm. And if everybody buys into it, like all these actors do, you can tell that story. It doesn't need to be ironic. It doesn't need to have a bunch of jokes in it. This movie has good humor, but it's not like, no disrespect to Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it's not Arnold Schwarzenegger one-liners, stuff like that, which was all through the 80s.
Right.
And I think that just another huge strength in this movie, that you buy into the world so much. And it's just because it's not just always trying to wink and nudge at you.
Mm-hmm. So in the end... Do you like this movie and does it work?
Yeah, I guess so.
I just feel like this movie, I just love it so much. It's weird, right? It's weird how much I love it. It feels so natural. I'm so calmly engaged. I mean, like, to a certain extent, I like it so much I question things. I'm like, is it too convenient? Are they figuring things out too easily? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think they figure out anything easily. Everything's a struggle. And
Right.
Somebody always dies.
but the thing is, I'm so into it that I feel like I question that. You know what I mean? But I think you're right. You saying those words, I'm like, of course.
It's a struggle. There's no easy answers in this. And, you know, I have my interpretation of that it's not nihilistic. You think it is. A lot of people think it is. You can bring a lot to it. And I think, like a lot of great films do, they change as you change. Because
Right.
I definitely feel differently about it watching it now than I did the first time I saw it. Where I was like, this is the greatest horror movie of all time. And now I'm like, this is one of the better human stories of all time.
Right.
I would say. Just kind of in the guise of assimilated into a horror movie.
Right. People dealing with crisis, you know?
Exactly.
We've covered our fan theories.
Yeah.
Rewind
there's
30
a lot of
minutes
them.
to get mine and Kev's. Do you have a sequel remake pitch?
Man, I just don't even want to see a sequel to it. It's this story is just done. You know, a remake. You can update the effects a little more. There's some pretty impressive animatronic effects you could throw in there now that would maybe update some of them, but it's gonna be tough to reclaim that magic if anybody ever tries to remake it. Like those creatures are legendary. That spider head is so good. And he has the perfect reaction to it. What does he say?
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yes, like that's of course that's what you would say if you saw some guy's head detach from its body, sprout legs, sprout eyes, and go. You go, fuck, man. So yeah, it's this movie. I don't throw the M word out a lot, but it is a masterpiece. This movie's a masterpiece.
It completely is. I want a remake. Wait. In the form of a video game. Hold on. That is essentially a reboot of the concept. You want to hear this?
I'm holding on here.
So it's an open world game in Antarctica. Very few locations, right? You got the shacks, you got the main thing, you got the boiler room, you got this thing, you got that thing. And here. Very few locations, very detailed. Every drawer's full of shit, and it's all randomized every time you do it. So the key might not be some stuff, right? Like the security guy will always have the keys, but where he keeps them or if he has them on him at all times is different, right? The weather is an element of the game. If you're outside too long or if the weather is bad, you'll get killed. You play as a character and maybe you can pick, of the different ones that are in there. The events occur somewhat like they do in the movie, but not necessarily just like the movie. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes a dog will come to you. Sometimes it'll be a person. Maybe it'll be... One time it's just... You'll see the fucking monster. You know what I mean? And there'll be a variety of ways the creature can work, differently. Like, in the... Not to spoil anything, but for the Thing reboot, like, it can't fake dental fillings. You know what I mean? And in this one, they do the blood test. And maybe so it doesn't necessarily start as a dog. And... say there's 8 characters in the game. Maybe there's 15 characters total. So sometimes you'll get weird combinations, and those people will interact differently. Yeah. So each playthrough changes as a result, and it's an open concept, and you can make decisions. So and there's literal things in the game, right? So there's only 50 bullets in the whole base, and they're mostly in the gun cabinet, and some of the other ones are in different places that different people have. And there's only 3 flamethrowers, and there's only this and that, and there's only this much booze, and there's only this much food, like this much this and this much that. And characters will have some things, be good at some things, and be bad at some things, and have some ideas and not ideas, and you can alienate people with your actions. And if someone says
it's like kind of a complex social system.
Yes, yes. So if the power goes out and someone says we gotta get the power back on, you're like, let's stick together. Some people will be like, what the fuck? We can't stick together. We gotta do this and that, and they will leave you. Yeah. Or they might be like, you're right. We gotta stick together. You can maybe change people's opinions. And so there's already been a game that kind of did a little bit like this. You know what I mean? The game was flawed because sometimes people would turn into the Thing even if you've just established that they weren't the thing. Like in the game, you could check people's blood.
Yeah.
And then sometimes in the game, they'll just change just because. There's a game called Extermination that was kind of in the same vein.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
Yeah, that's a fun game. So I wanted to be kind of like Way of the Samurai and Heavy Rain in that there's choices. You know, and if you die, your character just dies.
Yep.
You know? And Resident Evil and Silent Hill for survival horror. So it's like a paranoid survival horror game.
That could be really cool. Especially like the open world concept. That could be really neat.
So in the game, if
and,
someone...
And John Carpenter would play it, because he's a video game aficionado.
So in the game, if a guy does something, he'll do it. So it's like, you know, if a guy's like, oh, I went and got this gun, he has to... The character will physically... You know, if you tell the non-playable character, go to my shack and get my gun, he'll take the keys, he'll go do it. And he'll physically run in whatever. And if the thing gets him, it'll get him somewhere there. And maybe at the end of the game, it will show you how it all went down.
Yeah, it's kind of, playing at the core concept of the movie, which I think a lot of movie games are figuring out. A good example is that Alien Isolation game that just came out, where it's pure stealth, and the one thing you're trying to get away from is the alien. But it can attack you from the vents, it can attack you just because it sees you, because you made too much noise. It's not like you really get a sense that you're playing against another thing, not just like an AI that has a bunch of pre-planned places it can go. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's a really interesting, really taking the core fear in the movie and turning it into an interactive story. That's a cool idea. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Let's make it right now.
Midnight Universal, call us. So that's it for this episode. Please come back and join us on our next episode. This episode is written by Mr. Jibber Jabber. Music by Jeff Russell. I'm your host, Kevin. Kevin is your host, Kevin.
That's me.
For me?
Or am I?
Or are you? So for me, for Kev, follow us on Twitter, Biggie Cinema, SoundCloud, whatever. You know where to get it. Tell a friend. Why not? Can't hurt you. We'll see you next time. Why don't we just sit here for a while and see what happens? Bum bum. Bum bum.